Saturn is wrapping up its 5 months retrograde and it's stationing direct on Sunday, October 10th at 10:17 p.m. Eastern. Let's break it down and talk about the meaning for your sign. My name is Anastasia. I'm a traditional Western astrologer. I do readings. I run an Instagram page. There are links down below. Please subscribe to my channel. Check out some of my other videos, and I hope to see you here again soon. So Saturn has been retrograde since May 23rd, almost 5 months of retrograde motion. And to talk about the meaning, we first need to break down Saturn and talk about the meaning of Saturn in general. Saturn is the last visible planet. It's very dim in the sky if you look at it at night. And it deals with a lot of heavy topics in life, a lot of topics connected to hard work, diligence, limitations, patience, projects that require a lot of energy of us. It's the Lord of Karma, it's the Lord of Death, and the impact we leave behind us, the things that truly matter to us, really depend on what sign and what house is Saturn in your chart. But in general, when Saturn is direct, we're working really hard on projects that matter. When Saturn goes retrograde, the energy oftentimes is internalized, and there might be inner blocks. There might be things we somehow dealing with internally, kind of struggling with internally. So the last 5 months, and I'll break it down for each sign, you may have been dealing with certain blockages, with feeling stuck, with feeling uninspired, maybe redoing certain projects. Like right now there's 3 planets retrograde at the moment of me recording this video. There's Saturn, there's Jupiter, and there's Mercury. So a lot of things being up in the air, a lot of uncertainty in different areas of your life. So there could have been a lot of inner monologue and rethinking things, or externally maybe planning, setting structures in place, but not really pressing the gas pedal, or even things that you were hoping to start and initiate. There may be external things that are blocking you. So Saturn retrograde was that period of revisiting things and taking them slow, and kind of either because of the inner reasons, projects slowing down, or maybe outer reasons, maybe just feeling. Sometimes Saturn retrograde creates this feeling of you put a lot of energy, you're trying, but you're not really seeing any results, or all you're getting is frustration. And it's likely because you have to revisit your beliefs and ask yourself what is important to you, and what exactly are you investing this energy in? What's the final product, right? Is it authentic? That's what Saturn returns are all about. 30-year cycle, 29 and a half, when Saturn comes back to the same place in your natal chart, it's usually all about, are you being authentic? So Saturn is not the planet that just is there to get you, or to hurt you, or to knock your face against the wall. Most times it's just asking you to be mature and to be honest and to pursue things that truly make you you. So October 10th, it stations direct. We get 7 months of direct motion, so whatever things you were revisiting, now you'll get to work on them. And Jupiter and Mercury also station retrograde on the 18th. And Jupiter is stationed direct. Jupiter and Mercury station direct on the 18th. And Jupiter stations direct in the same house. It's also in Aquarius. And there's a double boost to the house that's Aquarius in your chart. More on that in a second. You can expect a change of energy. New wins, new exciting opportunities coming your way. It's not necessarily going to be 10th or 18th. It might take a little bit because these planets are far away planets. They, move pretty slowly. So, but things will change, and we will once again on December 24th face our there's 3 annual Saturn-Uranus squares that are all about dealing with change, adapting, innovating, and somehow doing so slowly and steadily. Because Saturn requires you to be patient and serious and like very thorough with your changes, and Uranus really wants you to change. So this year there's that tension between needing to adapt and needing to be conservative in some ways. So let's take a look at the different rising signs and talk about what it means for each sign. So if you are an Aries rising, Saturn is going to station direct in your 11th house. And so the last 5 months, you may have felt blockages and struggles around your friendships or even your networks, like maybe your professional network, maybe your colleagues, maybe your mentors, anyone you share a certain sense of purpose with. Like 11th house is people we connect with because we live in the same city, because we work for the same company, because we're born at the same time and they're our classmates, we go to school together. So maybe you felt like you didn't quite get along with them, you weren't sure if they're supporting your goals, Saturn is making you question those areas. And my closest friend is an Aries rising, and she just recently cut one of her friends out of her life. She's very loyal, so I don't know if it's gonna stick, but she never does that, so it's like a big change. I think Saturn, Mercury being retrograde, just like questioning, where are you not supported, like which people are meant to stay in your life and who is not meant to stay in your life, like where are you holding on to relationships that are outdated, or on the other hand, like where can you be more compromising, because Aries rising is a fire sign. Like sometimes you're so used to getting your way, or you're so used to being on your own, being independent. So like where also can you compromise? I think Saturn going direct might allow you to see things from the other person's perspective. If you felt unsure about your following steps, about your future, about your hopes and dreams, there might be a change there. There might be positive energies there. And it could also be, the next 7 months could be wonderful for you to connect with people who are in the same wavelength, and you are changing, and so people who are in the same wavelength may have changed for you. So it's about upgrading the circle that surrounds you and getting it on the same level as your internal life. Maybe figuring out new goals, finding supporters for your work, pursuing any kind of social media projects, because 11th house is also your fans and people who support your work. So you may take advantage of that, as well as any kind of like charity, volunteer work. Getting more involved with helping the world could be a great idea for the next few months for you. So if you are a Taurus rising, Saturn has been retrograde in your 10th house. So it's all about your professional life. There's Uranus being in your first house. So you're trying to think for yourself, be independent, perhaps pursue projects that are outside of your career and they still bring you a lot of joy. And there's been a certain feeling of delays, blockages around your work, around your career. So you can expect a positive shift there. You can expect to, maybe you're working on a tough project, you finally wrap it up. Maybe you will slowly start to become more authentic and look for projects professionally that reflect who you are. There's also a possibility, even if you've been looking for a job, like say you've been trying to find a job, applying and not getting any answers, when Saturn goes direct and Jupiter goes direct on the 18th, there are chances you will hear back and you will get that job. You will finish that project you've been struggling with. You will get recognition. So you can totally expect things to start coming your way. Even relationships with bosses, even if there was any tension professionally, you can totally, get more clarity and get better at communicating and asking for what you want, or just pursuing and creating things for yourself. I think with Uranus being in your first house, it's very much how can you create opportunities for yourself and where can you take those steps. Like Saturn goes direct, you will feel unafraid to work hard. You will feel ready to commit to something. So, if you're not scared of how long it's going to take, where do you want to go and what kind of steps can you take to get there? If you are a Gemini rising, Saturn is going to go direct on the 10th in your 9th house. The 9th house deals with education, travel, legal matters, your beliefs, any topics of like expanding the world, expanding your mentality. So on that belief level, you might be going through some kind of mental change. Maybe you're questioning what matters to you, where do you want to live, what kind of career you want to pursue, who do you want to be in your life, who's your true teacher, who's your true family member. There could be a lot of questioning like that. On a more material level, ninth house deals with travel, and there may have been, if you were planning to move to another country, maybe there's been a lot of back and forth between getting a visa, getting your passport, getting any kind of, like my Gemini rising friend, she's been applying for her green card and then applying for visas at the same time. And there's just like a lot of action and a lot of uncertainty. Like for a long time, she wasn't even sure, and there were delays with visas. So I think there's definitely some like positive changes coming to that part of your life. Maybe, finally getting answers if you're caught in some kind of like legal procedure, if you're battling in court with someone, maybe about like child's custody or whatever, you can actually get results. If you're studying and you felt like unsure about, the topic and your major, and maybe like uncertain whether this is something you want to pursue, you can also, you will likely feel some clarity there, even if that means changing directions and finally taking steps to pursue the career that will bring you a lot more joy. Or even if you're just like, have been feeling like you don't get the stuff that you're learning, like, you are Mercury ruled, so you're a quick-witted person, very curious person, but maybe you've just been feeling like this is boring, this is uninspiring, and like, why am I studying? Why am I spending my money on this? There might be finally a feeling of like, oh, I see why, this is actually what I want to be doing, and finally we're getting to the juicy part, to the exciting parts. Definitely look at more spiritual sides of this too. Like, how can you learn something in life, or how can you use the lessons you've learned to make your life better? How can you change your beliefs to change your reality? Because Saturn in the ninth, I think, is asking you to, because ninth is right before the 10th, right? And 10th is career, status, and reputation. And when Saturn is in the ninth, it's all about like, how can you prepare your mind before you take those professional leaps? So something to think about. Maybe you need to sign up for a course. Maybe you need to connect with a mentor or a teacher, or go on a trip somewhere and, get a hands-on experience. If you are Cancer rising, Saturn has been retrograde in your 8th house, and you may have dealt with topics of dependencies on other people. It could be that you depend on others financially. Maybe you depend on them for shelter, for food, for clothing, if you're younger. But even unspoken dependencies, maybe you are depending on a certain substance, right? Like maybe you smoke weed every day and you would rather start leading a healthier life. Maybe you have debts, like, maybe you have like huge credit card debt, or some kind of like debt. Maybe you depend on your mother to help you take care of your child because you're not married. So there may have been a lot of inner turmoil, a lot of frustration related to those dependencies, and maybe like almost a feeling with Uranus in your 11th, like you want to be your own person, you want to go pursue new things, and then every time you try, there is some kind of like no, not yet, you have to, look here, you still have to, you owe this to these people. So with Saturn stationing direct and Jupiter stationing direct on the 18th, you can expect positive change, positive shift. Maybe you get a loan. Maybe you pay off your debt. Maybe you find a nanny and you don't have to deal with your mother watching your child anymore. Maybe you release an unhealthy ex that you kind of have a very tumultuous back and forth relationship with. It could be very positive for your finances, for sure. It could be positive for your partner's finances, because 8th house deals with other people's money. So you can expect, other people to bring their money to you, or you can also expect to untie yourself slowly but surely from these dependencies. Some questions to ask yourself, I think, is like, what am I holding on to tightly? What is unhealthy or bad for me that I cannot let go of. As a Cancer rising, you are someone who's very nurturing by nature, but maybe some people that you're nurturing relationships with are not worth it for you, and maybe it's time to rethink those connections. If you are a Leo rising, you can expect a positive shift in your house of relationships. So Saturn and Jupiter being retrograde in your 7th house the last 5 months, there may have been a feeling of blockages, delays, some kind of struggles with your relationships, with your partnerships. Maybe, if everything is going on really well in your romantic relationship, maybe it's your business partnership, maybe it's just like a feeling of that, like there's no fun, like your relationship is constantly about working, and when is the end of that? When are we going to get on the other side and go and take a vacation or something? So, or you felt like you really want to commit, or you want to move the relationship to the next level, and maybe your partner wasn't feeling it, and you've had to deal with that. Like, where do your needs and their needs come together? How do you compromise on all of that? So things might be improving in that area. Maybe your partner is starting to feel better. If they've been struggling with any kind of financial, emotional, familial challenge, maybe now they finally kind of feel better, feel more uplifted. So you can expect, even on an inner level, if you felt like, do I need a relationship? If you've questioned what's the point of it, it's hard, you have to work on it, other person, they have their needs, I don't know if they complement my needs. I think you might just feel like you see the point and you see hope and you get more excited, especially I think with Venus being in Sagittarius at the moment, there's more it's your 5th house, so there's more joy and more excitement there. But definitely think about relationships that are worth keeping. That includes your romantic relationship, your friendships, your business connections. And if you feel like this person is worth keeping, how can you compromise? How can you find common ground and connect with them better? If you are a Virgo rising, Saturn is going to station direct in your 6th house of health, pets, service, self-sacrifice, and kind of daily routines, work that you do, the grind. I consider this house the plumbing of the natal chart, where like you have to, the piping where everything has to work. So the last 5 months, some of you may have encountered health challenges. Maybe, you lifted heavy weights, Saturn heavy weights, and you damaged your back. Or you've been having some dental issues, or anything Saturn's connected to bones and cartilage. So maybe something like, bones, feet, legs, teeth, like all of that kind of stuff. So if you felt like, you're dealing with this issue, Saturn stationing direct, Jupiter stationing direct will be very beneficial for that. Maybe you even decide to commit to your health. Maybe you start doing yoga, maybe you sign up for regular massages, maybe you go to a chiropractor on a regular basis, maybe you even just commit to going to bed an hour earlier every day, because it seems like nothing, but it means so much. Or, drinking more water, allowing yourself to chill, taking more breaks, going for a walk. So you can definitely kind of start to come up with a structure to your health. If you've been dealing with a work project, like, because 6th house is the house of like self-sacrifice, maybe you've been committing to like an education project, a work project, like something that you've dedicated a lot of time and effort to, and you also didn't feel like there is momentum, there is movement, like you're just studying and you don't see the point, and it's just like, dragging your feet, not being excited about anything. There might be finally a feeling of your efforts being recognized, being seen, even internally, just feeling like self-validating all of the time that you've committed to a project. So you can expect relationships with your colleagues to get better, a feeling of satisfaction of the work well done, health getting better. If there are any financial challenges, that might improve too. Or if you've had issues with your pet, your pet struggling with their health, you can see matters getting better there as well. If you are a Libra rising, Saturn has been in your 5th house, and 5th house deals with joy and fun in life. And with Saturn being in the 5th house, you may have felt like there isn't much fun or joy in your life. You know, maybe you weren't feeling romantic, or your partner wasn't really kind of being romantic towards you. You may have felt uninspired as far as creativity goes, or maybe you felt like other people are criticizing you and you don't even know what you want to be doing, and like your efforts are not appreciated. So with Saturn stationing direct and Jupiter stationing direct on the 18th, you may feel more inspiration. You may have a pull to go and put yourself out there. So it's really great for your romantic life, either if you are in a relationship or if you're single. You can see improvements there. If you are a creative individual and you felt like you don't know what's fun, or you don't know, I'm a Libra rising and I definitely have been struggling with that. Like, you know, what kind of posts do I want to write, and what kind of posts are popular with other people, and how to bring those two together, because you don't want to be focusing too much on pleasing others. You kind of want to have that healthy balance between what makes you excited and what other people are interested in, right? So Libra rising, always having that balance. So I think a good few questions to ask yourself would be, like, do you feel happy? What inspires you? How can you do more things that make you feel joyful in life? You know, like, what inspired you when you were a child, and how can you bring more of that into your life right now? If you are a parent and you've been having issues with children, like, you know, if children were difficult, if children felt stuck and like unhappy, you know, with the pandemic and like homeschooling or just going back to school, if there were any challenges there, your kids can start to feel better as well. If you are a Scorpio rising, there might be positive shifts in your house of home, family, land, property, safety, and security. So with Saturn being in your 4th house, you may have felt like lack of clarity about your place of living. Maybe you're renovating and the renovation project is taking way too long. Maybe you want to move, but there's a lot of issues with your family, you know, with the house. One of my Scorpio rising clients is going to buy like a mobile home and then travel the country for the next year. So there were some uncertainty there, but like with Saturn stationing direct on the 10th and then Jupiter stationing on the 18th, you can see those positive shifts and changes and just more clarity, and finally committing to that home renovation project, or, you know, change of your living situation project. Relationships with family members can clarify. If you, as a Scorpio rising, having a lot of planets now in your 12th house, if you've been feeling like family karma, family heaviness comes up, now might be the time to start acting, start moving forward, start releasing some of that karma. And I think a big question to ask yourself is, like, how can you change your attitude towards your past traumas? Like, how can you look at them as character defining versus victimizing? And how can you find strength in them versus see them as your weakness? If you are a Sagittarius rising, Saturn has been retrograde in your 3rd house and it's going to station direct. So with Saturn being retrograde in your 3rd house, you may have felt unsure about your skills, about your passions, about your hobbies, even about your communication. Like, do you communicate in a way that is clear to other people, or is it confusing? Did you hold back? Like, you know, did you not say certain things and kind of like hesitated for the sake of keeping peace, for example? Uranus is in your 6th house, so there's like a lot of like professional responsibilities or desire to change things professionally, but maybe a lack of clarity of like, what is this thing that you want to be doing, or do you have enough skills? So Saturn going direct and Jupiter going direct on the 18th might help you turn the corner as far as your communication, as far as your skills go. Maybe just have like more clarity, like, you know, more mental clarity about your abilities, about your knowledge, just being more confident in speaking up and knowing where you're going, figuring out your direction, figuring out your goals. I think definitely expect more mental clarity. And maybe if you've been thinking of like starting a blog, doing something technology connected, like having a podcast, using your hands, even like knitting or writing, anything like that, Saturn going direct in your third house could bless projects that involve like long commitment to writing and communication. If you are a Capricorn rising, there's a lot of positive energy positive energies coming to your house of money and values. And Libra, currently it's your 10th house, so there's a lot of professional changes, and so your finances are going to change accordingly. If you felt the last 5 months with Saturn being retrograde, like you're barely, you don't know how to direct your money. Maybe you've made a big purchase and now there is a lack and you have to be very stern about the money you spend, very careful. If you felt like you're not getting compensated enough, your job is not feeling satisfying, you can expect more positive changes in that area. Maybe you get recognition, maybe you finally get the promotion, maybe you make a budget too. Like if you have made a big purchase, maybe it's time for you to look at your finances and be like, okay, I made this huge purchase and now my finances are a little bit tight. How can I still enjoy life, but maybe be more stingy or just be more careful, right? Like better with your spendings. Could be a good time to ask for a pay raise, to ask for more responsibility, to take projects that make you feel more confident. With Saturn and Jupiter being direct in your second house, you can expect to feel more valued, to be that internally or externally. If you are an Aquarius rising, this is really big because Saturn is stationing direct in your first house of self and it's squaring Uranus in the fourth house of home and family. So for my Aquarius rising friend, she's, first house Saturn is very much about your body, your identity, your desires, your needs. And if you felt stuck or unsure about what your next steps are and what do you want to do, Saturn going direct and Jupiter going direct on the 18th should give you more clarity. And so my friend has recently moved to Florida, but then she had to come back to New York because her mom is having health issues. So it's very kind of like literal, the conflict between self and home family and like trying to figure out who you are while also still dealing with dependencies and relationships you have on your family. But you can expect, even if you like felt kind of like the world is really hard, the reality is really hard, like everything requires work. I'm like, please don't hear me, universe, that I keep saying reality is hard. I believe is what we make of it. So I think with Aquarius risings, with Saturn stationing direct in your first house and Jupiter stationing direct, you can expect new opportunities. You can expect more vitality, more energy to change your appearance, to change your brand, to change your looks. Start taking better care about your body, make better choices. What kind of things you're telling yourself, what kind of products you're putting on your body, on your face, what kind of things you're ingesting, eating, or even, what kind of things you're listening to. Like maybe you're listening to the news that get you anxious and frustrated. So now could be the time to rethink a lot of those things. And finally, if you are a Pisces rising, Saturn is going to station direct and Jupiter is going to station direct on the 18th in your 12th house. And 12th house is spirituality, self-undoing, self-limiting beliefs, isolation, foreign lands, healing, spiritual healing. So with Saturn being retrograde in your 12th house, there may have been a little bit of a self-sacrificial feel, like maybe you have put your needs second, maybe you've been too self-compromising, maybe you have lost yourself in something, in a relationship, in a parenthood, in a job, right? And maybe like a feeling of confusion of what's next for me, Will I ever take center stage, or will it always be about other people? And of course, Jupiter, especially on the 18th, but even Saturn, like both of those planets stationing direct, should give you some answers, should give you more direction, kind of uplift you and make you feel more like a hero rather than a victim. And I think, especially if you're someone who's like very spiritual or very focused on giving back to the world and doing a job that fulfills the needs of others, like if you're a tarot reader, if you're an astrologer, if you're a healer of some kind, you can also get opportunities to bring that to reality and to fruition. But I think a lot of those opportunities will come from you releasing the need to fit the mold that other people have for you, or releasing the negative thoughts, releasing that tendency to fit. Yeah, like kind of, what I mentioned already, kind of stopping sabotaging yourself. I think Saturn stationing direct could be very much about that. And if you don't already, like, try to figure out a spiritual practice you can add to your life, because this might be the moment when like your intuition has a message for you, or through meditative practice you find an answer. So the more you can work on your self-betterment, your spiritual growth, the better you will feel. This is all I have. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe if you haven't yet. Leave me a comment, and I'll talk to you very soon. Bye.